Yeah, well, the big story on Action News is Dave Bookbinder wrote a book, and I want to talk about this book because you're a business valuation expert. That's your background. Your background is business valuation
and intangible asset valuation.
And but you've got this theory, this idea. You've had this idea, in fact, for 7 years. It's now kind of au courant. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's gotten the religion. But for the last 7 years, you've been preaching that people are not just an expense; they're a value proposition for a company. That's really the basis of the new ROI, return on individuals.
Yeah.
Which means an investment in your people can pay off big time to your top and bottom line. But talk about that and where that came from.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for that. So it's interesting. So as a business valuation professional, I also value intangible assets. And one of those intangible assets that I valued throughout my career was human capital, or people. I personally never thought that the methodologies that the valuation profession had us utilize really told the whole story about the contribution that people make to the value of an organization. And oh, by the way, I know you know the answer to this, but sort of rhetorically for you, but for the audience, you've all heard every CEO on the planet say our people are this company's most valuable asset. But do you know where people actually live on a financial statement, on the balance sheet where the assets live? Well, they're not there. That's the spoiler alert. They're not there.
Assets.
Yeah. So I decided to write an article about it. Like you said, it was about 7 years ago, and the article got some traction, and folks encouraged me to keep going with it. And the article turned into a series, and then ultimately, after being asked so many times, like, what are you going to do with all this content? You really should aggregate it so people can find it all more easily. It sort of sounded like it needed to be a book. So at that point, I stopped publishing more articles and revamped the ones that were out there. New content that was developed went into what is now book number 1.
That's pretty the first book in the series.
Yeah.
And then after that, people started begging for a second book because they wanted more of that.
Yeah.
And for the last year, you've been building this book. And one of the impressive parts of the book, by the way, Dave, is that while an awful lot of your content is in here, you collaborate with a lot of really smart people to get a really broad picture of exactly what this all means.
Yeah.
What's that like? What's it like working with crew like
it's a ton of fun because, look, I come at it from a lens as a valuation professional, finance professional, which folks in the HR community and in the CFO community have told me is kind of a unique lens. And they both appreciate that I'm coming at it from that called business perspective rather than a let's get everybody in the room and be happy together kind of thing that most folks are used to when they're trying to figure out how to get people engaged and happy and productive and so forth. But what happened was, especially in the first book, I think you used the term, we're all climbing the same mountain but from different facades. And that's really what it was. As the first series of articles started to evolve, I would reach out proactively to people in different areas because I thought, hey, you're doing something neat in this space, and I'm certainly not an expert in teaming or aligning brand and culture, but it seems to me that those things are important in the overall human capital component and how that could impact business value. So I got some courage to reach out.
That's what makes the whole series very important. It's what we need to do now. It's virtue signaling to say that your people are important. My people are important. I love my people. Like you said, it's a bumper sticker. I love my people.
Yeah.
But what does that mean in practical terms? And what I love about your series is that you start talking about actual, practical, tactical steps you can take to manifest that love in a way that actually makes the difference you need to make.
Yeah. So what I'm doing, what we're trying to do, and I think I've done it or getting there very close if I haven't quite done it yet, is to connect these dots between the contribution that the human capital makes to the value of a business enterprise. That's my approach. Yes, we can talk all day long about the valuation methodologies that we use and how we could do a better job in ascribing value to people, but I keep coming back to the answer that it doesn't really matter, it's not going to move the needle until people are on a balance sheet. Then how you value people really becomes more important. But for the idea that the people can make a contribution to increasing the value of your business, that seems to have a lot of resonance with business owners, CFOs, CEOs, private equity.
It does, and they're wondering